Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. As always, lovely to spend time with you. Now, as you remember from yesterday, we're taking a break from Christmas, just for yesterday and today. And we're going to look at, I've been asked to create some birthday cards for people who have birthdays around this time of year. So they're sort of themed around this time. And yesterday we did a card design suitable for one of our lady friends, our lady crafters. And today we're going for a card that could be suitable for one of our male crafters. Now, the design I've gone for isn't specifically for birthday. I thought, although it's nice and you could use it for birthday, you know me, I want to give you lots of inspiration. So this is the design I've gone for. And obviously, as always, we've got our lovely envelope. Now, what I thought with this is, again, a couple you've messaged and you're new to crafting and you haven't got a great deal of supplies. So I'm going to use minimum supplies on this. But those of you that are seasoned crafters, you could mix this up a bit more. You could introduce more stamping, more colours. And again, you know, this is just the basic sort of start of the design, getting those crafty juices flowing, and then you can take it as far as you want. I've used the reindeer because, again, what I'm thinking is if you did want a festive design, you could easily use blues here, add some snow, and straight away you've got a Christmas card. I mean, what I love with the reindeer is draw and some little lines with your fine liner and add either some gems or some of our lovely liquid pearls and make some baubles in his antlers. And you've got a Christmas card there. So like I say, lots for you to think about here. And we're going to start, as always, with a piece of card, and this is Multifarious card, when I can get hold of it. I always have two look, just in case I mess the first one up. As you know, I do these live, I don't edit them, so what you see is what you get. So if I mess up, we'll sort it out together. But that's what I like, because we're just crafting together, aren't we? So this is 5.5 square, purely because for me, I like 6x6 card blanks. But if you're one of our lovely friends in the US and you want an say an A6 card and you want to make it rectangle rather than square, you could easily change this up and extend the landscape and even put the leaves around the sides, and that would be lovely. So, you know, you just take the design and pop it how it fits in with what your needs are. Also, if you want to make a larger design, this would easily make one to go on an 8x8 card. So we're going to start off. I've got our lovely reindeer stamp, and I'm going to use the Versafine Clair, the PineCone. Just because, again, for a male card, I think the sepia tones work really well. And as you know, I have a thing about PineCone. So again, I'm using the Versafine Clair. With it being a permanent ink, just for me, it's an easier way to go. Now, it's a silhouette this, so we'll make sure there's plenty of ink on there. And I've just got a bit on my block, so bring my inky binky in. Now, I'm going to stamp him sort of about there. Now, because he's a silhouette, for me, I just need to give that ink time to soak in. You know, I've mentioned this before, I'm not that really good at stamping. I do struggle with it. I don't know if it's my arms, my shoulders, the arthritis. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not something I am particularly good at. So I have to have ways of helping. So my pile of copy paper helps. Making sure I've got plenty of ink on the stamp, but also just letting that ink sit. Now, if you're somebody who can just pop the stamp down and lift it up, that's fabulous. You do that. That just doesn't work for me. I need to be able to do this. Otherwise, my stamping but that's just me. And again, we all get used to what we're like, don't we? So if you're like me, don't worry about it. It's just what we're like. Now, there are lots of trees. I've gone for this lovely, and this is Fir Tree 1. Beautiful stamp. And I'm just going to use one tree stamp. You could mix this up if you've got our lovely new trees. there's a selection there. You could use a few, but like I say, this is really for one of our new lovely followers, and she's only got one tree stamp, so let's show how you can make the design with one. Now I just need to turn it on the side. Oh, look at that, it's not stuck properly. Good job I noticed that. Right, so we'll stamp it on our copy of paper just to make it stuck, and we'll get rid of that, don't worry. This is one of my older stamps. I think it needs a bit of a wash. It's probably got glitter or dust on the back. Right, let's see if that's stuck now. So I'm going to put a first generation there. And then what looks nice, and look, you can't see that little mess that I made. We'll add a second generation behind. And that's just for our new ladies. We're not inking up. And that gives us a paler look. So it looks like the second tree is behind the first. But also I tend to put it a little bit higher, because if the tree was in the distance, it would be paler anyway. So it's good to have your darker tree to the front, your paler tree to the back. So we'll ink up, let's have another one. And I'm using the same brown, and I'm thinking, let's have one here further forward. Yeah, so again, we've got that nice. And I'm going to leave it with 3 at that side, but we'll just add a couple on the other side. The thing with this is we don't want it symmetrical. So what we can do is we'll pop one there in first generation. And I didn't want to do the second generation because that bit would still have more ink on. So I'm just going to ink off on here to give me a second generation. And we'll just pop it lightly there, just to make it look as though we've got a few trees behind him there. And I like that sort of little banding. Now what I do want to do is, while I've got my tree look, so again, if you haven't got any of our lovely sort of lavenders or bushes, or I mean, we've got so many florals, as you know. I mean, I think I've got a whole drawer full, but we're going to use the side of the tree look, and I just want to add a little bit of sort of shrubbery at the bottom. So if you haven't got a stamp that's suitable, just make sure you don't get the trunk of it on. But if we just go for that shrubbery look, we can get a nice, and I think that looks like, I'm thinking maybe we're in Scotland and we've got some heathers and things. So do look at your stamps, and you can use different parts of your stamps. So we'll give that a bit of a blot. And then we'll just put this away, and we'll just add a little bit. You know the way I like to work, we'll add a little bit of scenery here. And for this, I've got my lovely mini hill masks. And the colour I'm going to use is, I've gone for one of our browns, and this one's Truffle. And I'm also going to use one of my small brushes, the number 3. So what I'll do first, and I just, you know me, I have to turn my work this way, just makes it easier. I want quite a flat edge just to ground. Oh look, would I be able to, or maybe I could ground the trees first and then I'll add, yes, I think I'll do that. So I could have gone for our reindeer, but then that tree, maybe I could just add some shadow, couldn't I? I might, oh no, I'll ground that tree. Again, I do this, talk to myself. So we'll add a bit of grounding under that tree. And then I think I am going to add a little bit under this tree. And again, this is in the foreground, so I can be quite dark with this. There we go. And then I'm just going to add some under him. So if I take that there, and again, always go on your mask first, look, just to take off some of that ink. And this almost will start adding shadow under him. And I can catch that tree look. And I'm just going to sort of fill in this space. But if you look, when I fill in this space, I'm just going to leave a white bit there. It just almost highlights this a little bit. and it just gives a better effect. So let's have a look. Which one next should we go for? Just a bit of a rolling hill, I think. But I don't want, if I put that there, look, that's too much the same shape. So maybe, and I don't want to, we don't want to decapitate him, do we? Take his neck off. Let's have a look. See, that's too much the same shape. I may have to, yeah, I'm going to have to, that's too much the same. Oh, that looks better. Just want to alter that. I don't want the hill to be the same. Right, I'm happy with that now. So again, I'm going to use the brown to come up the sides and then gently, and I don't want too much. I want this to be lighter because again, that will help us with the depth and perception. So we need some perspective. I'll just add some brown there. Let me have a look. Yes, I'm happy with that because it's not the same shape. Lovely. And then we can have, let's have a nice hill. Now what I'm going to do now, at this point I could put in my last hill, but a little bit of a tip here. I'm going to put my moon in because then I can put my last hill so it looks nice with the moon, if that makes sense. So I'm going to add my moon over here, just sort of highlighting a little bit of his antlers, look. So again, in the brown, onto the mask first, and then gently, just come round. Need a little bit more colour. And again, I start at the base. The reason I've put it upside down, if you remember, so I start at the base, so that'll be a darker area. So that will just add to some shadow on the moon. Let's take that off. And then what we can do is just extend that look with what I've got on my brush. And I'm just going to extend that in the sky a little. Lovely. So then I can just see where I need. I'm just going to give this a wipe because I think I'm going to turn it upside down because I want that shape look to mimic under there. Don't worry about this. Now this one I want very light because this is really in the distance. So I'm thinking if I have that there. So I'm thinking if I add my skyline, and that way I can finish off my sky look, but I can just add a little bit of a skyline there. And that gives me that lovely hill in the distance look, but I've got that shape there under the moon. And I like that. For me, that's just a little tip, but that's just the way I would do that. Now what I'm going to do now is add some more colour around the edge to really frame the design. So I'm going to go in, I'm using the same colour, but I'm going to come in with my larger brush. And I'm just going to grab some kitchen towel. And I'm going to start on the corners and add, oh bless him, Eric's with me today. He didn't join me yesterday, he was a bit cold, so he stayed in his bed, but he's in my craft room with me today. And he's sighing. I don't know why he's sighing, but... So I tend to start, because I want thicker colour look, so I've gone for the bigger brush, and I always start in the corners and then work my way up the sides, because I don't know about you, but I find the sides harder to get a nice... Oh, bless, he's snoring, so I'm sorry if you can hear a noise. That's Eric snoring. So again, colour on the corners, nice deep colour, and then along the base. And for me, it just minimises me getting marks from the brush. So again, in the corner, look. And look, we want the corner dark. And then drag that ink down the side. And then along the top. And your craft mat's perfect for this look. I can pick some of that colour up. And I just want to work on this shape here. And again, if I almost want to mimic the moon, so I'm sort of going at an angle. So you see how that has framed that design. And I just think that really adds atmosphere. And we haven't done a lot to that. But I'm just going to clean this up. Now, again, you could always pop a spare piece of card and just clean this up. But I must admit, I'm just going to clean it up with Mr. Inky Binky. Got plenty of backgrounds. There we go. Keep it nice and clean. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some stamping at the top. And for me, I like to create my frame first, and then it gives me an idea of how much stamping I want. And for this, I'm going to come in with the maple leaf. And this is the larger one. So we've got a pound version of this, and the two work so well together. So again, you know, when you're starting off, I always think it's nice to get stamps that work well together. And I do use this a lot for mail cards. And that's something else I think, you know, it's good to have cards that you can use for both. Beautiful, you can make a wreath with it. I've done a video on that using autumn colours. So it is a very good all-rounder stamp. But I'm going to bring in a little bit of Chianti. I think it's time for a glass of Chianti, don't you? So, and this, because it's a lovely red, it's just going to add a little bit more interest. But it's a deep red, so it's going on those brown tones. So if I pop one in from the corner here, and you'll see the difference and how this really just goes well. And I think when you want a cohesive design, it's important to think about colour. So we don't need a lot, but it will just really, and I'm just going to add one more, and then I'll show you. I'm going to add one in the middle there. So I think that is starting to really frame the design, but we've still got space here for our eye to rest. It's important we don't have too much. We need to just frame it and keep almost some simplicity. So what I'm going to do now is just clean the stamp, give it a quick wipe, and I'm going to go back to the PineCone. So with the brown, and I love to do this just to, especially if I'm doing a border, floral, say at the top and the bottom, I like to use two colours. So if I bring in the brown and just over stamp, and if I lift that up to show you, so can you see we've got the lovely brown on top? Right, I just want a little, just notice there as I lifted it up. So I just want to catch just with one of this lovely leaf just in that space there. Right. And I think the addition of that colour, there's not a great difference, but it's enough to add a little bit extra. So to balance that out, I'm just going to add a little bit of stamping at the base with the Chianti. And for that, I was looking at my stamps and I've gone for the Woodland Fern. So in the Woodland Fern set, there are two. And again, this is a very useful set. Oh, and dare I say, you can do a wreath with this as well. So we've got a larger one and a small one, but I think the smaller one for this design. And again, this looks, it's a beautiful addition. But what I was looking for, ones that were really, really good for, in my opinion, for men's cards. Or if you're doing a card for a couple. Or it could just be one of your female friends who doesn't particularly like a lot of florals, a lot of fuss. Because again, when we're making our cards, we know who we're sending them to, don't we? And what they like. And we tend to make the design that they like, not a design that sort of is for us. And that's what's good about being able to make your own cards, because you really can make them specifically for the person who it's going to. So I'm just putting these in clumps, look, because ferns do grow in clumps. And I just want to alter, so I'm going first and second generation. altering the height look and the shape. So we've got 3 little clumps. Now there looks a bit bare in the corner. So I'll just add a tiny bit there. I'm not going to fill that space because we want space. So again, that just for me helps to fill. So they're all simple little things that we're doing, but that recipe of how to build it up. So what we need now are just a few little finishing touches. And these are the things. So I know, Carol, you've been asking about the finishing tricks, and we're just going to use some very simple ones for this design. We're not going to overdo it. So what I'm going to do first is bring in my pastel pencils. Now I could, if I wanted, just add some of my ink to my mat and paint on a little bit of shadow, but I'd like to just add a little bit of pastel. I feel it works well. So I'm thinking we'll start off with, we've got some shade under, and I'm just going to go for a brown. That's quite a light brown. I can add some darker. And the moon's behind him, so his shadow is really going to be in front of him. And the tree here, the shadow will be more this way because the moon's, so it'll be more sort of over this way. Got a tree there and a tree there. I'm going to bring in my darker brown and just add the darker brown and then just smudge the two together. And for me, I like the way the colours just smudge nicely together. So again, for the trees, we'll add some darker brown and just smudge that area. Just strengthen that bit under there. And then what I do want to do on him is I want to add some. Now you could add some sparkle. Normally we'd maybe add wink of Stella or some white pastel, but I'm thinking again, I'm being mindful, it's for our male friend. So what I'm going to do is just take, now this is an orange, I think I might just go for the yellow. I may go back and change my mind, and I'm just going to add that idea, there's a bit of yellow around the moon there. And again, I'm just smudging it, the pastel, that's all it takes. A little bit of highlight on there, look, it's just catching the edge of that hill. And on his antlers here. So I'm not adding white stark highlights. I'm just going to use my yellow and I'm going to give him a little bit of shape. So I know that hind leg would come round there. On his tail, the moon would just catch his back, look. And we've got this front leg here, which will be that sort of shape. And then they almost have a bit of sort of woolly tufty at the front here. And again, all the time with the pastel, if I just smudge it, it will fix it. So there's no need for me to use a fixative because it's just the pencil. I'm only using a small amount. Maybe I can just catch his front here. And it's just, I'm not overthinking it. I'm just building his shape up a little bit. And if there's an area that hasn't quite stamped as perfectly as you want, do you know what? It looks great with the highlight on it. I'm just saying, little tip. Now what I can just catch is just the edge of this tree, look. And this is very subtle. I don't want it to be in your face, but I just want it to be as though that moonlight has just caught. And again, I'm only going for this side of the tree. Obviously the moon's there. Maybe we'll just catch a little bit on that hill there. And it's just to add a little bit. Like I say, I'm not overthinking it. But for me, it's these little finishing touches that just make all that difference. As I say, if this was a snowy design, a winter, we could use blues and add our white for the snow. Right, I'm going to stop there, but I think that little bit is just enough to make him. So I'll just give my finger a wipe. Now, you have choices now. What we could do is add some faux bleach into the sky if we want. So what I'll do is I'll just get my fan brush, tap it in the water, and we'll just add some little dots. Again, just to show you choices. And those dots will just add a little bit of interest, especially in the corners, a little bit of faux bleaching. We can even add a little bit at the base here, look, if you want. And again, you can dab to see how your faux bleaching's working. Now, I'm going to add some yellow Posca. I'm going to give that a shake while my faux bleaching. And also, I'm going to be adding a lovely sentiment sticker. So while that faux bleaching's working, so this is from the Sentiment Stickers 6, look. And we get white, black, but I'm thinking this lovely vintage will be perfect. So I can get those out ready. Now I'll just give this a little pat to dry it. So if you look in the corners, look, so we've got that lovely faux bleaching. Now I'm happy with that because I just want it in the background. If you want more, you obviously would leave it longer. You would leave the water to faux bleach longer, but I'm happy with that. So I'm going to add some yellow Posca. Now again, if you don't want to add the yellow Posca, I'm just thinking it's going to add a little bit more interest just over the leaves here. And in the base here. And I've gone for yellow again. If we were thinking of a snowy scene, obviously the white. But again, I don't want it to be too much in your face. I just want it to be a little bit. So I'm just going to give that a very quick dry with my heat tool. And again, this is the drying tool. So heat from the back just helps keep the card flattened. And then lastly, we'll just add, and this is the hardest bit for me, as you know, there are so many fabulous things on here. I think I'm going to go with, see, I do this, right, inspire. And once upon a time, I was like that. Now, once upon a time, definitely. And love nature, right. Now, again, if this is a birthday, you can add a birthday. But I'm thinking I like once upon a time at the base. And I'm just using my scissors just to give me an idea. And in this corner up here, I'm thinking love nature. And if I just pop it over the moon there. And then with my sepia, my brown fine liner, just going to give it a little bit of a square. Just hand drawn. Again, you can leave it if you want. I just think it finishes it off. And that's why it's important to just dry the card so that the pen will work lovely. And there we are. So that is a very simple design, but you can alter it up. Like I say, if you haven't got the reindeer, the foxes would work well. And you can use any part of this and add more parts to it or different stamps. So for the ladies that have been in touch and the gentlemen, it gives you an idea of how you can start with a card design, but you could alter this up. Maybe use different trees, maybe do a Christmas version. You see, he looks lovely with his baubles on his antlers. But I do like the sepia tones, and those two colours work very well together. So that was the Chianti and the PineCone. So again, if you're starting off and wondering what colours to get, it's often nice to have two that you know are going to work well together. So thank you for popping in. Lovely to have a brew with you, I have to say, and a little catch up. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Have you got anything nice planned? I hope you have. And I'm going to come up with some more festive designs next week. Sorry, but I've got to get a bit more festive. Got a few more cards and tags to make. So I'll see you again soon. You take care. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.